To One Word a Day, I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. Let's continue exploring the next me. Okay, I forgot to tell you what's this whole this radical without a chimney on the top is pronounced as me. Well, again, this is not something we pronounce it in our everyday life. It's simply a radical. It existed in history, and we don't use it now. So this me now is covering or hovering over the rabbit symbol. And somehow it become wronged. So it means somebody was misjudged, kind of unfairly, injustice, right? So that's yuān. Traditional, simplify, the same. And then if you look at 2,000 years ago, here, this big arch without chimney seems to give you the sense of it's covered. It's kind of you can treat this big arch thing either a net that's used for hunting, right? To capture wild animals, in this case it's rabbit, or you can view it as a cage, like a bird cage, kind of a three-dimensional thing. I mean, nest is also a three-dimensional. Net could be a two-dimension, and then you cover something, becomes three-dimension. But a cage is like three-dimension by default. So either way, because the Chinese is a two-dimensional, and in a lot of situations, it can be interpreted in two ways. But underneath it, let's imagine either it's a cage or a net. This rabbit was in there. And here, the rabbit, I would imagine here is the rabbit ears, the rabbit legs, hinder legs. And these are the rabbit, I don't know, the whiskers. We saw this component, which is kind of a sideways squatting human figure. And we use that human imagery because that's the most, I guess, frequently used and dominant Chinese characters, because we're talking about human, right? As a part of a wild animal body component that we don't want to preserve just the body part by itself. So again, replaced it with more frequently used Chinese character that talks about totally different thing, but looks alike. And I would imagine this is kind of a whiskers for the rabbit. I'm actually not sure if rabbits have whiskers like a cat would. But anyhow, we saw that on elephant. And the elephant, we explain it as the long tubular nose of the elephant, because it's kind of winding around. And even if we can hardly explain what this thing is. So this is how Chinese describe what a rabbit will look like. And the rabbit under that net or cage, confinement, give you the sense of we are limiting the rabbit to its full potential. Or in this case, we're limiting this person, because we're using animals to talk about humans, limiting the humans to give themselves the full ground to lay out evidence or their side of story. So that's the case for being wronged, because it's limiting, it's constrained. You were not fully heard. Okay, yuān wāng. Or actually, yuān wāng probably is the more bookish standard pronunciation. And thank you for whoever pointed out in my pronunciation. Sometimes I based on my hear of what I remember this word is pronounced, but occasionally, I guess, I probably pronounce it wrong all my life. Therefore, I show you wrong. But at least that's evidence to show that probably there were regional difference in how things were pronounced. Yuān wāng or yuān wāng. Okay, yuān wāng is the way I said it. That this is double down on the meaning of wronged. So wronged, if this is the rabbit, under that constraint that rabbit cannot fully express itself, The wang on the right side talks about a wood that's growing probably too rampant or tall. That's a kind of a being crooked, like going in all kinds of non-linear or straight, upstanding, upright positions. So it's the right side has nothing with wang. It's another kind of a misnomer image-wise to replace it with either jade or king, like none of that is. It's simply an overgrown plant. And when we see that pair with the tree symbol, means it's an overgrown plant that gets crooked. I'm not sure if you have seen the imagery of bristlecone pine tree. They are twisting like a wild fire, like a static fire. Each one of them is like a sculpture that shows a lot of torque just by how the spine was twisting. Truly crooked. But they are the longest living tree. And Chinese use that. I'm not sure if China actually have that longest living tree, but probably trees, when they live long and grow tall, get crooked. So this crookedness paired with round together double down on the meaning of it's not a straight line story. Things are not straightened out. Something is crooked here and somebody is wronged. So 冤 wang or wang. Okay. 冤家路窄. This is a phenomenon that Chinese observe. 冤家 means 家, we use 家. Not only is it's somebody else's house, a different household. It means some family, I guess. Once Chinese have a rivalry or competition is between families, it's generations. It's kind of like Romeo and Juliet. It's just like two distinctive families, and each have to have their own camp in that same town, right? So kind of similarly, this 家 means the whole, I guess, family name backing behind it. And the 冤家, wronged family, 路窄. So 冤家 itself means your rivalry family name. Like you hold a grudge against that whole family. And 路窄, the road is narrow. We talked about that last week when we talked about a 窄, that when you are enemy with somebody, you don't want to meet them, right, in public space. But somehow, miraculously, the road becomes narrow, that you have to walk in a close proximity next to that person. So this is a Chinese observation to describe the phenomenon that you feel probably, I'm pretty sure this is biased, just by random encounter. Like you randomly encounter your friends and your enemies probably at an equal chance. But somehow, if you encounter unpleasant person to you, then that probably weighed on your mind more, so that you feel that road is really narrow. Why it's so close? Anyway, this described that enemies often meet. Like somebody you don't want to see actually show up more. At least that's how we felt. So that's 冤家路窄. 冤大头 means you were upsold something. You went on to buy something, you end up spending a lot more money, and basically scammed into buying something unnecessary. And Chinese have that special term for this group of people, 冤大头. And it's a stereotype about how Chinese or Asians, they like to boast about how much savings they made by finding some good deals. And till today, like I'm a deal seeker. I feel more accomplished if me shop smarter, that I get the best deals in town. Something like that, right? So it's a very different psychology, consumer psychology, and Chinese use this term 冤大头 to point to anybody who paid unnecessarily, overpriced on something, and that's 冤大头. All right, so 冤 is wronged, And hopefully nobody of us get wrong. But sometimes if we do, just move on. Yuan, thank you for your time. See you another day.